Well, hello. We are live. Greetings. Excuse me. Creatives, community, kind folks, and of course, classmates and collegiates. Thank you for joining me. This is RPG with DBJ, and here on this channel, well, we talk about just about everything. But normally, to keep us in check, to make sure that we impart as much information and we get a nice little flow of conversation, we try to keep it uh, organized down to specific topics. And normally we take a topic and we take that topic and we spread it throughout the week. So we build upon what we did the last couple of days and what we're going to do in the future. And this week we're talking about what's maybe an inappropriately designated term known as tech arcana. And specifically talking about the uh, the magic, the supernatural, the mysterious in your world taken to the mundane level where your average citizen knows exactly what's going on. Maybe even going so far as to the average citizens in your world understanding how the rules work on a meta level. And so we've just been talking about how it affects the society and our interaction with players and such. So let's get into how we interact on the channel. All right, so you can tune in live Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in RPG with DBJ. You can pop into the chat in YouTube and make a number of comments, and we will talk. And if you feel you're feeling particularly randy and you have a number of very creative ideas, pop them on in the chat, and we will discuss it further. But some individuals would prefer to listen in or have a uh, uh, clearer, better opportunity to hear this chat. And so, if you go over to Fantasy Grounds College, please join the Discord over at Fantasy Grounds College. And when you move over to the various classrooms, slide your way down to the special rooms and you will see DBJ's voice channel and DBJ chat. And in that way, if you prefer to use Discord or some combination thereof of Discord and or YouTube, you can pop in a comment there. Also, as most of you know, anything from links to images and pictures and such are not possible to pop them into a YouTube chat, which would be going over to Fantasy Grounds College and joining the DBJ chat and voice channel. You're able to place those things in there as well. And of course, keep the conversation going. Sorry, had to do all the preamble. All right, so let's get into it. Today is Wednesday. For those who don't know, each day we take our theme and we subdivide it. So there's Monster Monday. There we have ourselves a Discord Tuesday. Might have to change the name on that one. World Building Wednesday, Third Pillar Thursdays, and of course, Future Fridays. So World Building Wednesday. Well, we've actually been world building our all week, Monday, Tuesday. We're going to do some more world building tomorrow as well. But you know, I think there's some things we can pull out from the idea that the citizenry in your world understands the psychic powers or magic or powers given to the PCs by the gods, and bring it down to a level where they understand what's going on. And the first thing that came to mind were some of the average jobs or professions or things we have in our modern day and combining them with the arcane. Now, many of you who are experienced with the history of Dungeons and Dragons will feel a lot of commonalities with such settings as Planescape or Eberron or Dark Sun and even Spelljammer. And the latest one, the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica as well, that many of these settings were created by a team of writers who said, you know, what if we took this setting, this game, the world's most popular role-playing game at its time, and take it to its extreme. What would happen if the average citizen had access to something as simple as a light spell, or What if there were individuals going around, creating food and water or good berries and giving them to the citizens? And then they started to go even further than that. What if we could harness the power of elementals? And so, for example, in Eberron, they have something known as the lightning rail. It literally a train powered by elemental creatures from other planes of existence, pure energy, whether it's fire or electricity or something of that nature, and then harnessing them, trapping them inside of devices, and harnessing their power to allow it to give locomotion to a very large vehicle. Now, we don't, in our own settings, if something somehow it's like rubbing you the wrong way to have these floating cities, or I don't know, force fields around castles in a medieval setting, if that's like little pushing things a little too far, you can ramp it down just a little bit. For example, there could be cities that instead of torches, oil lamps, or something, maybe they're just someone who goes around with their staff and just taps these poles to alight them for each evening before the sun sets or something. Yeah, Dante in the chat says, and airships powered by fire and wind elementals in Eberron. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they use earth elementals to run vehicles through across the ground. I'm I It's been a while, and now I do understand that there's an unearthed Arcana version of Eberron that WotC's working on at the moment, running some things through play tests. Of course, running the class features and the race options, such as the Warforged. And so that's yet another thing that was pulled out. Yeah, Dante says, "Yep, there's carts in the deserts." I recall. Yeah, there. I mean, what a great uh, what a great way to do something and take it to its extreme. And unfortunately, we, as the brilliant people that we are, when it comes to our tabletop role playing community, um, we often fall on one side of the equation as opposed to the other side of the equation. Uh, Let me give you an example. Usually, many of us are so familiar with things in history, and we will say, if magic existed, and then we go to the equation, we go to that equal sign, we go on the other side, well, then this is how the world would have to be. And I would beseech everyone to fall on the other side of the equation. In other words, decide what you want your world to have, right? Decide that it's post-apocalyptic. Decide that technology has increased. Decide that there is an equal amount of magic and technology. And then reverse engineer your world for it to become the way it is. Too often someone will say, well, it doesn't make any sense. If there's magic, there would never be technology. Or if there's technology, there would never be magic. And it's like, well, how would you know? It doesn't make it. It's like it's comparing something. It's like explaining the biology of a dragon. It's like, well, since it doesn't exist, you can't really be the authority on that. So decide what you want your world to be, and then reverse engineer. Maybe in a particular world that he has equal parts magic and technology, there were maybe there were a number of wars or dictators or weather events or diseases or something where maybe the magic wasn't exposed to the most of the population. And in order for some of these nations or countries or factions to survive, they had to develop technology to compete with the magic that's all around them. There could be a council of wizards who are very intellectual, and they want to pursue technological advancements. And if it wasn't for magic allowing them to record information and allow them to work 24 hours to have an appropriate light source or something like that, maybe they wouldn't be able to do it. So to say that one thing in a fictional world would not exist is rather humorous, I think, for me. It's hey, decide what you want your world to be, and then just reverse engineer it. And and don't limit yourself to what the real world would devise for you, because really the real world is only a single example amongst um, a world of infinity, so yeah, we do have an example, and the only example we have are the experiences we have on our world, but we don't have the ability to rewind time and look how it would change over time. We don't have the ability to go back and butterfly affect our own decisions in our own society. So yeah, go for it. Now, Infinite Roleplay says if magic existed, there would still be tech and magic existing due to differing ideologies, like the gas, diesel, and electric vehicles of today all existing at the same time, of course. And then there's also things like I always bring up time, energy, resources, right? Um, how people separated by thousands of miles would develop differently. The resources to spread information is difficult. Is it by word of mouth? Is it written? Are people literate in locations, illiterate? Are there individuals, maybe certain ideologies, disbelieve certain things, or cast them outright simply because it comes from the mouth of people that everyone despises, and so they don't embrace it. There's so many kind of things. uh, Rickard is giving us a list of some of the professions that you could have in the world that would be modified or changed by having access to certain types of magic. For example, let's go with dry cleaners using prestidigitation, any kind of crafter. I'm sure whether it's a carpenter or a blacksmith or jeweler or something, even leather workers and weavers using the mend cantrip. Lamplights would have, light druid craft or prestidigitation. Yeah, absolutely. I could see all of those having some form. Maybe even we'll go into it later. Florists would be druid craft, and actors thaumaturgy. Yeah, you know, especially if they are in this world having those cantrips available. Here's where you may have a number of differences based on skill level, right? So an actor, you could have 5 actors who have access to and are skilled in thaumaturgy, but a really good actor convinces you that they are someone different. A bad actor is just loud and obnoxious. And people just walk away like, they're all they're doing is just they just seem wooden to me. I know they're loud and stuff, but whatever. you know, and the mundanality, if that's a real word, of this person using thaumaturgy to project their voice and take on these different personas. People might be like, "Nah, I don't like their acting. They're terrible," but possible as well. And even with the lamplighters, the lamplighters could be restricted to certain neighborhoods. Like, hey, if you got enough coin, we can light your streets. But if you live in the poor neighborhoods, not at all. Or there could be private lamplighters. In other words, individuals paid to follow you around who control the lights, almost like a valet slash guide or something. Or maybe there's a city where you enter into the city, you drop a few coins um, with I would almost say like not maybe a salesperson of sorts, a mage type person who maybe gives you a small device, and maybe there are like dancing lights that follow you around when you come into the city, and they just say, "Hey, you know, thanks for joining us, and thanks for the couple of silver. Here's a small ring that generates light just in your area that follows you around." That would be kind of cool. Rickard says prestidigitation and druid craft both let you light a candle from a distance, whereas light is light, right? And depending on where in the city or which city you go to or what purposes there are. So um, a city guard may have someone who's able to cast light to allow them to go down dark alleys and patrol the cities, whereas someone with druid craft may just walk along and um, light and or extinguish maybe oil lamps or something, and that may just be their job. There may just be a cadre of them walking around with, I don't know, brass rods or something to let people know that they are the ones who alight candles and such. Ricker says a shop clerk with mage hand for getting things off those high top shelves. Yeah, yeah, we talked about that yesterday about someone coming into a shop using their mage hand and setting off their alarms because they're trying to steal something. There may even be a restriction on using like a mage hand that isn't visible, or maybe there's magic that makes the use of those abilities visible. And of course, we know mage hand is just basically like telekinesis, which of course, if you wanted to reskin maybe psychics in this city because there's an undercurrent of like psychic powers or something, it's the same thing. Scott Poe, since all these crafters can magically do their craft, people would expect some pretty elaborate and originality in their stuff. Imagine the fashions that would develop. Oh, that's right. Because if someone could magically craft something, it could be that the differences between the crafters has to do with their designs. For example, possibly shaping or weaving materials that cannot normally be shaped or woven or placed into objects, such as, I don't know, forming glass, like a glass shield for your helmet, or forming, weaving steel as thin as a thread or something to make shirts woven with silk and steel or something. Maybe even weaving wood so that it looks like it has grown naturally, but it is still a device created by someone, such as a wagon or a shield or something that looks like it's just literally come out of the ground with druid craft, but really they have grown wooden items to be used for household things, such as maybe tables and chairs and cabinets, where you could still see the root system underneath, and the leaves and flowers. Maybe they're still alive too. Furniture could still be alive by using a druid craft. Pelora says, missed a chunk. You're fine. You didn't miss much. Ricker says, museums and mage hands that slaps people's hands when they try to touch the artifacts, followed by a messaging spell of, please do not touch the artifacts. Yeah. It's especially in schools, teachers smacking the back of the kids' heads that are like distracted or passing notes in class. Of course, passing the notes would be like little message spells, and the teachers broadcasting the errant's message spell sent over to the two that are having googly eyes at each other and broadcasting it in some kind of minor allusion to the class. Dante says, would there be like class-based stigma around certain magic then? Like come sweeps, like, oh, that guy's a lamp mage. Come along, children, don't look at him in the eyes. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you could be. I'm sure there would be some forms of. You could have various forms of stigma or social status. For example, the lamplighters may be chimney sweeps. Oh yeah, you're fine. Yeah, there could be. It would be very reasonable for someone to both be looked at as being having a higher status. Like, look at me, I'm a lamplighter. I'm not like you people who have to, do blue collar work and dig ditches or build homes with your hands. But on the other hand, they may be looked down upon by some of the magi. Let's say there's a group that's studying to become to defend the city, to blast their enemies with fire and cold and acid from the city parapets, and they may look down upon them. There might even be roving gangs of of evokers going along, giving people the hot foot or freezing solid their drinks until they shatter in their hands or something like that, and just being rather rude. Also, we brought up the fact the other day about that PCs are the graduates of things that common people may not have completely understood. So you'll have students that have failed out of school, those that have only mastered one or maybe two cantrips. There may be students and or teachers or administrators that have not completely understood the ramifications of what they can do. So for example, a PC can summon a shield spell and it summons and goes away, or a tensor's floating disk, or using thaumaturgy or prestidigitation without any side effects, right? PC casts spell goes away, they're fine. But maybe it's not just learning how to use the magic, but harnessing it and understanding how to not just turn it on and control it, but turn it back off again. So there could be individuals that, cast a burning hand spell and their hands stay on fire for 5 hours and they just can't turn it off. Or they use a message spell and then they keep sending messages to people. They're what's in their subconscious, or someone casts a light spell, but the light spell keeps getting brighter and brighter and they're just unable to keep it from, I don't know, following them around, or it changes colors and they can't keep it from stopping, or any number of things. Maybe their magic is like catnip to some kind of dangerous creatures that sniff it out. And if it wasn't for being able to turn the magic off, that it could be dangerous. Pelora says, is it? And he says some D&D settings. I don't know, where magic damages the landscape, climate change from magic instead of from our general manufactured pollution. You're thinking of Black Sun. You're thinking of In a Burning Sun, something like that.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Thank you, Alexa. Yeah, you're thinking of Dark Sun, the setting. Thank you, Dead Man. I just got it when that came about, because I know Dead Man's like, oh, information. Dark Sun is the setting that it's a post-apocalyptic setting, and that's the one. Dante say that's also the plot of Final Fantasy. Yeah. Burning Suns was close enough. Yeah. No, I am not going. Well, maybe. Alexa, roll me a d20. I don't know if Alexa's even going to answer
15.
that one. Oh, thank you. And rolled a 15. Sweet. I think that's pretty good. Add some mods in there. Get myself a crit. So the general idea behind Dark Sun is that magic has been used, and the magic that is used has desolated the landscape. It's literally fueled by life force, whether it is sentient or plant-like. Every time magic has been used, it has spread and it kills life, turning it into what is essentially dust. It's not even sand. It's basically it is lifeless earth. So it's not even soil. It's literally dust. And they actually have ships that have wheels on them, because the wheels can reach down to the solid ground in these seas of dust. And so, yeah. Ricker said that actually worked. Yes, yes. Alexa is another player character sitting in the background. You know what? Maybe we'll using electronic devices at the table might be a week's worth of itself, especially if we have some fun with it. But the idea, oftentimes in general Dungeons and Dragons, there is magic, but the side effects of using Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Deadman says Alexa is a muse. Yep, it is possible that to use your electronic devices for your Eclipse phase games. I thought that that would be cool. Um, yes, you're absolutely right, Rickard. So someone thought added the had to add in the fact that your electronic device can play role playing games. Yep, yes, someone taught it how to roll some polyhedrals. I'm pretty sure. Well, I suppose if it doesn't have the a die of that size, you could just tell it to pick a random number between x to x plus whatever, right? Um, now there are some. I think we could have some fun because we're doing some world building here, but I think we could have some fun playing with the idea of the mundane portions of the mundane portions of the gaming system. I agree with you, Rickard. It is a fun feature. I haven't. I mean, I just learned it today, so you're gonna have to give me some time to get myself used to it. Uh, yep. I'm not going to say that because she may be convinced that she is a little magic. So, um, having speaking of mundane arcana used by the plebes, okay. Uh, imagine yourself like a firefighter, right? Imagine like a group, a cadre of firefighters in this world, but instead of Ricker says using us to play tabletop RPGs. Yeah. Um, but yeah, there could be a group. So let's say firefighters, and instead of just putting out fires, which might happen spontaneously or by people who aren't studying the magic correctly and getting it under control. Maybe they're hunting down elementals that have pierced the membrane of our world and their world to keep them back because those who are unfamiliar or untrained in the magic or literally just don't care are slowly opening up these portals, let's say to the elemental plane. And so the PCs are kind of like the Ghostbusters of the world, the firefighters of the world, trying to collect these things and send them back or capture them or train them or something. Dante says, imagine if there was a society that had been around techno artifacts from our own dead civilization, but nobody knew Alexa's name until someone says something close to it and wakes her up. Sounds like Numenera to me. Yeah, it sounds exactly like Numenera. Rika says one last one. Alexa, roll a natural 20. Oh, that's possible.
I don't know that.
Yeah, she doesn't know it. She has no idea what you're talking about there, sir. All right, so um, other than your typical city guard, you can have individuals who are. We could ramp up the extraordinary with the people in our own world. Cricket said she's not a cheat. We don't know that. So someone may have programmed her to lie and cheat. We don't know that. Now that we could have a situation where, like firefighters, librarians, teachers, craftspeople, and such, that there is a extremely supernatural element to it. For example, stonemasons learning gifts from a Medusa who's turned things to stone, or um, stonemasons using earth elementals to bargain with them, or using them as an example to shape stone in a manner in which it would not be humanly possible to chisel it, um, such as a you know using earth elementals to twist and shape stone to make a large stone bridge that has an expanse that's like 5 miles long over this major river or ocean or lake or something, or crafting um, uh, a castle walls that extend underwater and using uh, clear crystal so that there are like windows in the underwater realm so that people could stand inside of the castle and be in an airtight region that's protected from the outside so they can see, you know, tropical fish from the basement of their building or something. Like there could be craftspeople that are doing extraordinary things, and there might be dangers in that as well. For example, the theater troupe that wants to go beyond using prestidigitation and thaumaturgy, maybe they start uh, making deals with and you know, doppelgangers, and a mimic is on stage, and maybe the theater owner is a rakshasa that is convincing people of these great plays because they're able to use illusions and mind control and shape changing and such for their theater troupe. And there could be competition between the different competing theater troupes in terms of what's entertaining to people. Maybe some people are like, yeah, we've seen the doppelganger before. There's nothing that's, you know, what's he only got like 30 different uh forms or shapes he can take on. Yeah, we've seen them all. You know, uh Plur says, I rolled like 5 nat 20s out of 10ish rolls on Saturday. The GM threw me another die and it skittered across the table and ended on a 20. uh yeah, sometimes we have to put our yay, my voice went back. Sometimes we have to put our dice on pause, or look around and just look in awe, like what the hell just happened. I mean, remember, statistically, it is statistically possible to roll, you know, nat 20 over and over again, just like rolling you know, a nat 1. It is a die, but overall I'm sure it's this extremely randomized, but that's really cool. 5 nat 20s out of 10 rolls. Oh man, that's almost like, I wish I was recording this, please. Oh man, no one will believe me. Now, um, uh, oftentimes in our world building, especially when it comes to like magic and psionics, or something that's really, you know, really arcane and such, we are using the word magic, even though, again, we're talking about a society that kind of understands how it works. Maybe not all the intricacies, but they understand how it works. We often don't think about the side effects that magic has in the world, and that's where you can really start to develop the outer portion of your world. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to come up with new rules for how magic works, meaning like you don't have to come up with new ways to pick spells, or you know, randomized spell slots and all that. You don't have to do that, but there could be longer form ramifications of magic in the world, especially where it comes from. Whether is it like radiation, and does it change people over time if they don't control it? For example, does magic turn people into minotaurs or hags or naga if they don't control it? Is it dangerous and poisonous? Does it kill people over time? There is a series written by C.S. Friedman where the people who become the spellcasters drain their magic from someone they don't know, draining their life force away. So there's this uncurable disease in the world that people are afflicted by, and really, what's happening is all of the spellcasters that exist in the world, and there's not very many of them. They To graduate, they have to understand that their magic is slowly killing someone else, and it's pretty dark and depressing if you really think about it. Magic could affect the landscape, or maybe magic is like a beacon that makes you a target for pretty nasty predators. There may even be as a spellcaster, there may even be creatures that only you can see, and you have the you suffer the physical wounds of being injured by this creature, but those who have no access to the magic don't see it at all. They just see you being like mauled or ripped apart or something. There may be slowly there may be portals opening up, or there may be like a ticking time bomb, such as there's a mountain range, a volcano or something, and the more that someone uses their pyromantic magic, the more lava and heat spews out of this mountain range, and might be more and more volcanoes erupting over time, and so on and so forth. Right there may be lasting effects. The magic might be turning citizens into sorcerers, imbibing them with the residual magics thereof, and maybe they are uncontrolled, and so there might be some stigma about that as well, that people not only want to use the magic, but they also understand there's dangers with it, and there could be protesters or people who are the anti-magic individuals. And the same thing with clerics, right? There might be religious orders that want to keep that feel like the magic should be, only given to them by divine sources who know better or something. Infinite Roleplay says the constant use of the weave slowly drains Mistra to the point where a new goddess must take her place, or the weave will unravel. Which is another thing. Maybe magic is undoing like the elder gods or deities or something, or um, it's almost like not asking permission from the gods to use certain types of magic. So there could be some kind of animosity between the two between the two camps, the faithful and the spellcasters, or they might sit on the same side, and there could be a triple threat where the druids feel like the natural elder gods are the ones who should be the ones you should beseech through magic. I mean, there's all kinds of storylines you can go with that. Now, one other thing when it comes to world building is the generalized part, right? The part where magic has an effect on the world, whether you're talking Dark Sun and it has been killing off all life, and the Dragon Kings are the only ones that are willing to use magic that isn't fueled by life or something. But well, you could go even further, that magic might be the reason why certain races exist. So instead of them having a biological history to them, that I don't know, dragonborn and drow elves aren't born; they're kind of created through a type of miasma or an infection or something, that two humans can give birth to maybe a dragonborn or a drow elf or something, simply due to their exposure to some of these magics. And maybe there's a different class stratifications, because of course they don't want to, they're not going, well, they don't want to get rid of their children, although there might be people who through social pressures may have to do so. But there might be other forms of individuals or factions in the world that are trying to kick these people out of their town because of the side effects of magic going wrong or something. Now we do bring up. Now we often tend to go to the darker side of the world building when it comes to magics and the uses of technology and such, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. It could be. It's possible there's a Cold War in the world, collecting magic, and the idea of training individuals to harness some of these abilities, and the dangers that come about it. For example, how many times have we been at our before a game and talk about, I would have an army of mages casting magic missile, or an army of them using burning hands or whatever. And sure, maybe someone is trying to do that, or trying to feed their people with create food and water or good berries or something, and some other faction is trying to disrupt that or disturb that or something, because normally things aren't created in a vacuum, and that's where your stories come from. Dante says dying magic could be the impetus to develop technology to replace it. That would be a neat plot or place. When your transportation is based off fly spells and suddenly you can't fly as much, now what? And who's to say that? And there's any number of reasons for that. For example, let's say there's a guild whose only purpose is to enchant things with flight, right? They enchant flying carpets, they fly people around the city or across the landscape or something. Who's to say that the leadership doesn't want to get paid more, or they are being very uh, they're being very restrictive of who they teach these flying abilities to, or maybe the individual who actually knows how to cast the fly spell in the beginning is getting elderly and they're sick and they're dying and they're refusing to hand over the magic formula. There might be otherworldly flying creatures that have been tolerant of this for a while, but now that there's a there's a whole airline industry, Pan Am airline industry, they're taking offense to it, you know. Yeah, Plur says, can people show other people the world, like take them wonder by wonder, like taking them on a vast world tour to show them the wonders of the world? That's a possibility as well. There may be a desire to cast the flying guild into a bad light because other nations that don't have it are jealous or they feel threatened by it, because of people doing flybys over their own nation. It's usually when we come up with some of these concepts, a lot of times people put them into a vacuum. Like, hey, if there are 20th level mages all around the world, there would never be technology, or there would never be this kind of and someone would fill in the blank, right? But in reality, once you include sentient personalities, not just human, but humanoid personalities, sentient wants and desires and needs and fears, you can throw a monkey wrench into anything. And sure, given enough time along a timeline, sure, one side might become a universal, but is that fun? That's not fun. Maybe we want to live in the dangerous parts of our world. Maybe we want to live in the parts where things aren't even keel and there isn't a worldwide council of mages that controls the entire world. Maybe we want to be in the middle where there were these major battles fought between these magi, and the PCs are the grunts in the world as they see bolts of lightning and balls of fire fly across the sky for miles, impacting these other cities as they deflect off of these magical shields or something, right? It's the idea that the interesting parts, the drama, the instability are the places that I think are the places where I think the fun happens, not the end result. So the idea that someone can say, well, I could not take over the world if I had 50 people trained as an army of magi might be true, but what if this person has this idea and others find out about it? And so, in the court of public opinion, people are spreading rumors that they are corrupting their children, or someone is trying to train these spellcasters to become their major army, and someone starts poisoning them, or disseminating propaganda to get them to rebel against becoming this vast army of spellcasters. Like, there's so many things that can be thrown in there as a monkey wrench, and that's, I think, where we can have far more fun world building than to say than to say, well, if this, then that, and ignore the ramifications thereof. Like Infinite Roleplay says, 20th level spellcasters will be equivalent to nuclear weapons. Of course they would. And listen, any individual that's a 20th level spellcaster doesn't necessarily mean that all 20th level spellcasters would be on the same page, right? One 20th level spellcaster might look around at their fellow arcanist and go, you know what? I don't really even want to be here. I'm going to go off to these other worlds. Um, Others might say, I've spent too much time earning the power that I have. I have no interest in starting a war. Like, why would I want to fight anyone? That's a risk to my life. I'm literally immortal except for getting a bullet in the head. How about I avoid all bullets, right? It's the, you know, the the concept that only 20th level wizards and spellcasters would be the only power in the world might be true, again, following the end of the timeline. But in the middle, what happened? What was their life like when they were 8th level, right? What was happening in the world when they turned 17th level? Were people just sitting back twiddling their thumbs and going, nah, let them gain more power. It's all right. Well, I don't mind being a slave to their whims. What about otherworldly creatures that see them rising in power? Has there been backstabbing or fighting? Talking about the the ramifications of having that kind of power, what kinds of evidence have they left behind, each of them, to get to that 20th level in the first place? Were there mass genocides? Did they travel to other worlds and offend other ancient creatures? What kinds of knowledge do they have? Have they changed their mindset about what the future holds? Are they even human-ish, right? Can you even have a regular conversation with people who can see the future and see into other worlds in so many different ways? I'm not familiar with Antima. Not no idea. The anti-magical version of Antima. No idea what that is, man. Sorry, I'm missing the reference on that one. But yeah, I mean, and the thing is that in your world, let's say you're like, you know what, there are these arcane kings and queens that control the world because they're 20th level and they have mastery over magic or something. And the PCs are like just poor schlubs living in this world. Again, we can reverse engineer the world. What things happen to put them in that place? Oh, political reference. Sorry. I'm like, what role playing game is that? But yeah. It's, I mean, um, it's I think I get it now, but but yeah, you're fine. It's the idea of reverse engineering it. Maybe these people who are really powerful have a weakness we don't know, and that weakness they've held close to the chest. Maybe there are powerful entities that the PCs can beseech to help them take down these dictators or something. And these powerful entities are like, yeah, we've seen this coming, but we don't want to have anything to do with it. And so the missions might be to travel to these far off worlds or go to these other planes of existence to gain some kind of power. Or it could be, again, instead of PCs gaining magic power for themselves, the scope of the world could be the development of technologies that are far easier to spread to the population because magic has been so restricted from them. Pelora says mages are deathly afraid of mustard. It's a fact. Yeah. Um, Hell, they could be spreading their own rumors about their own powers and come to find out that they're not as powerful as people think they are. You get enough brilliant 5th to 7th level spellcasters and they can make themselves look pretty darn powerful, or at least convince everyone thereof if they have made deals with other worldly creatures or other powerful creatures that are keeping the ruse up. Heck, there might even be some creatures like, I don't know, hags or naga or something, or sphinxes or whatever, that are like, you know what, we need a mouthpiece because adventurers have been killing us for centuries and we'd rather not die anymore. So could you be our mouthpiece and we'll just pretend to give you special abilities and and make it look like you're this powerful mage that has powers that no one else can learn. And of course the normal human beings like, yeah, I'll go for that, sure, why not? Also when it comes to world building, and we brought this up before in terms of reshaping how the world not just looks at magic, but how it is conceived. For example, we talked about a city guard that might have a rod that can detect magic or cast light or even has access to some other special abilities, but they may functionally operate as far higher level or CR versions of themselves, but it's due to the fact of their access to the magics and not necessarily them being higher level characters. So, for example, there could be, let's say there's a paladin's order, and the paladin's order might be blessed by yeah, warlock pack monster politics. It could be, right? It could be it could be that there are city guards operating as CR5 stat blocked beings, but it's only because they are wearing the enchanted medallions that are enchanted each day from the mage stone that's held in the wizard's tower at where the Council of Seven operates. Or it could be that there is a on the solstice of each year that the Druidic Circle is there and gives the ability for um, the I don't know the scouts that are around the city to become like were creatures or something. And so this ritual allows them to become this way on every solstice and equinox or something, and it's renewed each time because of their dedication to protecting the city from wild animals that are, you know, outside the city gates or whatever. Deathly mustard. Well, wasn't mustard used in the Greek or Roman mythology to make one of the titans, or was it Zeus, throw up? So one of the gods ate their children and used mustard seed to make them throw up the gods or back ups, whatever. I'm mixing up my mythologies, but I remember something about mustard seed and getting sick or something. So that's actually kind of a thing, I think. Also, going back to Monday, we talked about folklore and the idea of like sprinkling salt or, you know, saying someone's name 3 times, or, you know, spoiled milk on the window, or um you know, hanging a mirror from a window's frame or something like the mustard mancer. You got silly. There is the possibility of folklore may have a lot to do with magic as well. um there you know, we have the weaknesses of vampires where they can't cross running water or must be invited in. There could be there could be folklore-ish limitations attached to the spread of magic. So for example, someone could be a mage, but if you learn certain spells, your spells cannot penetrate a circle of salt, or your spells cannot penetrate someone who has um you know, branded themselves with the sigil of, I don't know, the 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 goddess of, you know, tranquility or something. Right? um Infinite Roleplay says Town Guard are created with a combination of message spell, clone spell, and whatever golem possesses that um processes that grant them limited autonomy under the direct control of the magocracy. What? Why not? Why wouldn't they be that way? Um, Golems almost like drones, drone pilots somewhere. They're in a they're literally, the city guard goes to work by going into the wizard's tower, and they just sit back in these chairs and control golems, like gargoyles and other types of manufactured golems that go around the city. And the golems could then be outfitted, like you said, with message, um like you said, clone spells. Maybe there are other enchantments on the golems to allow them to have like voice capabilities, recording information, detection abilities, and not putting the city guard in danger, because who cares if a stone golem is shattered or an iron golem is melted down or something, right? They just make another one. That would be kind of cool. I like that idea. And also, it's the idea that the player characters aren't the only ones that come up with things like that. Um, you know, it would be pretty nasty to have like a stone golem or like an iron golem filled with some kind of like dangerous ooze. And if the PCs are like, oh, stone golems, no big deal, and they crack a stone golem open and all of a sudden like a black pudding flows out of it, or whichever ooze doesn't destroy stone. A gelatinous, a humanoid gelatinous blob instead of a gelatinous cube. It's like a gelatinous humanoid or something. Pillar-ist is just thinking it would be interesting to work in some Vampire the Masquerade style banes for mages. The stronger they get, the worse the drawbacks are. I like that idea to have like you're talking about, like Vampire the Masquerade banes, such as, what are some interesting ones? There was there are I believe they are the Amish or Mennonite or I there are people who put these like hex plates on their barns that are designed to keep like evil spirits and dark thoughts away from their homes and such. So there could be these banes that could be created like a dream catcher, right? There could be these banes that the average citizen can have a crafter create for them that are essentially non-magical in nature, but prevents magical abilities from being used on them. Or there could be henna style tattoos that are placed on someone's face, or certain types of gemstones that have certain bane like abilities. Quartz keeps away those that are mental intrusions, whereas onyx keeps away necrotic power. you know Green keeps away uh, wild animals under the control of their summoner or something. Dead Man says Exalted has a city with guards like that, guards that are artificial beings walking around, Terminator like in their in their attempts to keep control of the city. And again, when world building, we don't have to make the entire world, does not have to be a homogenized version of what we presume the world to be. It could be a number of city states. They have their own rules. It could be that in this world, the rules of magic are in chaos. So depending on which ley line you're close to or which fount of magic you're close to, they could have different rules. You could even create your own randomized effects for using spells and use that randomized table in your world. As a matter of fact, if I could plug a little bit, us over at Critical Hit Publishing, we have a deck of cards, because we do have cards as well as publications, but we have like fumble cards and critical hit cards, crit hit cards as well. We have a deck of cards that's like has a deck of cards that has randomized effects for spells. You could take a deck of cards or a list and then pull out or make your own randomized decks based on what type of spellcaster you are or where you're spellcasting from, based on your school or yeah. Dead Man says, and Mage the Ascension has Terminator like creatures. Is it Mage the Ascension? Isn't there a faction that's into that has like using you, because of how Mage the White Wolf game Mage operates, that there is a Magus version that's into technology and cybernetics and such, which would be kind of cool. The human beings cut open and you find out that There's mechanical bits and pieces underneath them, maybe constructed from wood or leather straps or steel and iron or something like that. It'd be kind of cool. But anyway, we've come to our hour mark. Yeah, just basically us just spitballing different ideas around, which is what we normally do. Sometimes we are highly um, highly motivated. Sometimes we aren't, but whatever the case may be, we're going to continue the discussion tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is Third Pillar Thursday, and for those who don't know, I am your third self-appointed third pillarist. I am a complete dictator. I have created my own position in the third pillaring section of the world, and I will not be unseated. But anyway, what is the third pillar? Well, third pillar of gaming is exploration. The first two pillars being combat and social interaction. So the third pillar, which is exploration, I have taken it upon myself to not just make exploration in terms of traveling to different places and learning about ancient dwellings and history, but exploration to me are the exotic locations and having those confrontations in those exotic locations. So what does that mean about combining technology and magic? Well, we'll see tomorrow, but you'll understand. Third Pillar Thursdays. Hope you join me then. Guys, thank you very much for being part of this. I once again, if you cannot or it's not desirable for you to use your phone or your data or what have you to join these live streams each day, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, my time. Hey, Rickard, man, take it easy. If you're unable to do that, you can join, or I would beseech you to join Fantasy Grounds College. Join their Discord group, and once you join the Discord group, page on down past the classrooms. I have my own special room, and join the DBJ chat. And by the way, while you're there, hey man, Pelora, take it easy, man. Take it easy as well. Once you're there, please join one of the classrooms at Fantasy Grounds College if you wish to learn how to use Fantasy Grounds. Guys, everyone, take it easy. Everyone have a great day. I will see thee later. And see ya.